This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
Welcome to Baconsale, the Hickory Smoked Pop Culture podcast starring Kent.
Hey!
Joel. Hey! And Jacob.
Hooray!
Welcome to Baconsale, the Hickory Smoked Pop Culture podcast starring Kent.
Hi.
Joel. What's up? And Jacob.
Yo.
There you go.
So just twice. For good measure.
Yeah, just getting it right down there. It fits the theme, guys.
Oh, we have a theme today?
We always have.
Wait, this isn't Dating Etiquette Part 2?
So I've got some issues.
Yeah,
You guys didn't hear enough of that last
Let's talk
week.
about that some more.
Let's talk about the issues that Kent has.
Actually, if I may,
Please.
thank you everyone for listening to the last show. I know we're like three fuddy-duddies who are trying to talk about dating, but that was kind of part of the joke, right? But
Three
I
Mormon
love
fuddy-dudders who are like, when do I kiss a girl?
yeah, it's like classic romance 101.
Yes.
But I would like to thank everyone for listening. I would like to warn all future females from listening to that show because it's a really big problem when you actually take someone on a date and they say, "Oh, I listened to your Baconsale episode," and I say, "Oh no."
What are future females exactly?
They're females from the future.
Like Cylons, like number 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
like number 6.
Yeah, see? Growly pants.
We're not getting back into growly pants.
Yeah.
Battlestar reference.
Jacob, what are we talking about today?
Twin movies, guys. Which
What
is
are
a,
twin movies?
Which
Arnold
is a
Schwarzenegger,
which is a
Danny
Trap,
DeVito.
term that
Parent
we
Trap 2.
have coined
Double
entirely.
Impact
No one
or
has
Sudden
thought of this
Impact.
before us.
The funny thing is, we originally called this show, and this was an idea from a listener, Mike Hilton, said, Battle Similar Movies, Bugs Life versus Antz, Dante's Peak versus Volcano, etc. And so I was calling them clone movies, and so we had this idea for clone movies. But if you look up clone movies, it basically just pulls up movies about clones. So,
For me, they're one and the same.
but
These are duplicates, maybe not intentionally, but they always come out about the same time.
they do, that's the weird thing. So we went through, we looked, and they're called twin movies on Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge and truth. But we went and looked at the list of twin movies out there because we could name a couple off the top of our heads. There was
We wrote that Wikipedia page.
The summer of
'Cause we coined it.
'98, I think, is pretty
Yeah.
infamous for a lot of these. But we went through, we looked at them, and there were a ton on there, and we whittled them down to 19, I think.
Yeah.
19 pairings. So we're going to discuss them one at a time, one pair at a time. And then Kent and I are going to vote on which one we feel is better.
Yeah, I feel like that's good. And then, Jake, are you going to break the tie on
I
this
will
one?
break the tie.
Okay.
Getting ready to break the tie. I swear, I'm going to get a rad reference on every episode.
Yeah,
from now
you're
on.
trying. Wait, what?
Is that Jacob's growl?
No. Maybe it should be.
Was that the end of the Mr. Belvedere song?
We should just have an episode full of me making different sounds.
Hold on, I'm doing the Mr. Belvedere theme in my head now.
Okay, just do it out loud. We're on a
To our
podcast.
new arrival, life is more than mere survival, and we just might live the good life yet. Brr. There you go.
Nailed it. I
Well
nailed
played, you guys. Well played.
Wow, Mr. Belvedere. I haven't thought of that in a long time.
And here we are back to sitcom. It's our second sitcom episode.
I love sitcoms.
So we've got about 20 or so of these pairs, right? Is it 19 exactly?
It's 19. It was like, I think we started with like 28 that we were thinking about doing, and then we kept whittling down like, well, these don't really match up. What was one of the examples? Just
For
like,
example, The Shining and Amityville Horror.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
both about
Like a father going crazy.
families moving into places where people had been murdered, and then the dad goes crazy, and the mom is scared. And then I brought up to Kent. I said, look, that's basically every single episode of A Haunting on the Discovery Channel. Like every one of them is exactly the same. So we decided to go ahead and whittle that down to these ones, which we feel are the most representative of these this twin movie epidemic. Can we call it?
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah.
Because most of these movies are about epidemics.
A lot of them are.
I mean, there is quite a trend, right? Do we want to talk about the general ideas now or as we go just more?
General ideas.
Well,
as
like,
in-
why does this happen? Are these competing studios? Like, is this planned? Do people get some sort of idea about what's going to be popular next summer?
If
that
I
everyone
may,
does it?
I watched a documentary. It was about Canon Pictures. And Canon, they've made a lot of really terrible sequels in the 80s. I'm trying to remember, they actually made The Last Dragon, which is one of Joel's favorite movies of all time.
Oh, they made that?
And what they did is they heard the other studios were making big movies. And so they had basically enough money to make a movie and say, that's a good idea. Let's make it with a no-name cast and release our movie before that one. And so they would always copy an original idea and then bank on the fact that the studio is going to take a year to release it, they'd release it in 6 months.
There's also those what are they called? Asylum knockoff movies.
Yeah, where instead of Pacific Rim, it's like Atlantic Rim.
Or like they also like to do car or like the kids movies. Like there was like Cars, and then they had the little Cars, and it was like this.
But those are distinctly different though. Like nobody knows.
But what they want is people to go to Redbox. All these slack-jawed yokels to go to Redbox and be like, hey, what's Transmorphers? That's probably Transformers. And then they rent it because it's a Friday night and you want to watch Transformers, I guess.
Exactly.
And then you get something better in that case.
Yeah.
28 days later, that's just like 28 days, right?
No,
it's not.
It is not.
I wish that was one of our comparisons.
And so we went with the movies, and you're going to notice this here. Movies that came out around the same time, mostly in the same year, with almost the exact same plot. And with each pairing, Kent and I will go ahead and kind of boil down what the movie's about, show why they're similar, and then Jacob, we will discuss kind of why we think or why we know these movies were similar. And then, of course, we'll vote. And if Kent and I agree, then it's over. The argument's over.
Yeah.
But if we don't agree...
I think we will agree for the most part.
We should agree for the most part.
Yeah.
But if we don't, then it's up to Jacob to break the tie.
No. What do you think? You're like the next BB-8?
All right, Jacob, let's jump into this.
What is happening?
That's from the gaming episode.
Episode 16?
17.
17. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
I remember that episode. That was a good episode.
All right. We're ready?
Ready, Freddie.
First twin movie. Truman Show versus Ed TV. Truman Show from 1998 and Ed TV from 1999. Joseph, let's begin with you.
Well, okay, so we got the Truman Show, which I guess the reason why these are similar, they're considered similar to one another, is these are both about people who are filmed all the time and posted on live TV.
For example, give us a synopsis for Truman Show. I'll do Ed TV.
So Truman Show is the story of a man who is unknowingly being filmed 24 hours a day, played by Jim Carrey, and is broadcast to the whole world, and they're all watching this guy grow up in this artificial environment. It's actually a darn good movie.
And really, really good.
And Ed TV?
Ed TV is a movie about a video store clerk agreeing to have his life filmed by a camera crew for a television show. So he knowingly...
And it's Ed Harris, right?
It's
Ed Harris is in Truman Show.
He's what?
Ed Harris's Truman Show.
Oh, no, I was just thinking because it's Ed TV. But yeah.
Oh, no.
I forgot he's actually in Truman Show. Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jake jokes.
Yeah. Hashtag Jake jokes.
But it is essentially the beginning of reality TV, maybe prophetic in a way.
Yeah. Because people are doing that now. And this is the late 90s. This is before, I mean, there was the real world.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of reality TV. Mm-hmm. So they're both movies about people being filmed 24/7. The difference is the fact that Truman Show, he doesn't know what's going on, and Ed TV, he does know, and he being Matthew McConaughey.
No, it's Woody Harrelson. Matthew McConaughey's the brother.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it ends up being more interesting with him.
Yes.
All right.
Why do we think that these movies were made at the same time? Was this something that like we felt like we were being watched? Was there this paranoia that we had about being recorded, even though this paranoia has definitely gone away by today's standards?
People beg to have themselves filmed today.
Right.
Which is a weird world we live in when people are like, I want privacy. Come film everything about my life and broadcast it on TV.
It's like my phone records me all the time. That's all right. It's all in my face all the time.
All the time. I don't know why these would have come out around the same time. And these were a year apart about. But I do feel like...
I mean, that's a bit of a spread, though, right?
It's a bit of a spread, but at the same time, they're always compared to one another. I will say that Truman Show did outperform Ed TV substantially. It made $264.1 million versus Ed TV, which made 35.
Well, Jim Carrey was still very bankable in 1998.
Yeah. And a darn good performance by him as well.
I agree.
One of my favorite Jim Carrey
performances. Would you say his first great performance?
Well, see, I like his comedic.
If you don't count Ace Ventura as a great performance,
or Dumb and Dumber,
obviously you do,
or The Mask.
I don't.
Like, I like all those, and I think they're great. But I think this is the movie that kind of showed the world he can act when he wants to.
I think it's really Ace Ventura 2 where he steps it up and really shows
You
us.
mean when he...
No. Yeah. Let's just... No.
That's the only part I remember about that movie.
Is the rhinoceros
when
part?
when a rhinoceros gives birth to him.
Okay, the rhinoceros is pretty funny.
That was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14-year-old me was dying.
What about
What are you talking about? You are 14.
I'm still dying.
So...
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Huh?
Also...
Driving Through the Jungle? That was fun.
And this is something I'd like to point out, that apparently there is a psychological condition, a syndrome that they call the Truman Show delusion, that a psychiatrist came up with because he had 5 patients with schizophrenia who believed their lives were reality television shows and that they were being filmed the whole time. In fact, one guy, and this is maybe not something to joke about, but it was something that happened.
Well, that guy, he's very good. I mean, he basically cured me of that. So
I don't know if I can make this serious comment now because Jacob just turned it into a joke.
Oh, sorry.
Joel, please continue.
Thank you. But when he saw the events of 9/11, he actually had to fly to New York to prove to himself that it actually happened because he thought maybe it was just something.
Because he wouldn't venture outside his bubble.
Well, yeah. Well, he said that he thought maybe the producers had fabricated that in order to make his story more interesting.
Wow.
So that's how weird some of these people are.
Some fun facts actually about Truman Show is people on the set were forbidden from uttering phrases from Jim Carrey's past silly movies. So they couldn't be like, smoking.
Alrighty then.
He would get upset. That was in the contract.
Oh, right. Just to keep him in the right. Oh, that makes sense.
He's practically a Daniel Day-Lewis, Kent, okay?
Is he?
Well, Man on the Moon, he kind of was.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, he totally got into that one. And also,
yeah, but his performance, though.
Another fun fact, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, when they reviewed this film, they not only gave the film 2 thumbs up, which was their first for any Jim Carrey movie, they actually gave him an on-air apology saying that, because when they reviewed Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, they said this man will never have a career in Hollywood.
Wow.
And so they apologized to him after Truman Show.
Wow. That's kind of funny.
Right?
That is funny. Turns out they were right.
And
oh my gosh, they were right now.
He had a career
for a little bit.
Past tense. You notice that he has past tense there? He had one.
And I feel bad too because Ed TV directed by Ron Howard. And I love Ron Howard's work, and it's got Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson, Ellen DeGeneres, Jenna Elfman. Like I like all these actors, but I got to give this one to Truman Show as the better twin.
Easily the better twin.
High five.
All right. Next pairing up, Antz from October 1998 versus A Bug's Life, November 1998.
1 month apart.
I mean, how confusing is that marketing-wise? Like, do people even know which one they're going to see?
Well, I think if you're looking for the one that's poorly animated compared and has the voice of Woody Allen, you know the difference.
Oh, Christopher Walken.
Yeah, Christopher Walken, he did a great job in it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So Antz is a story about a rather neurotic ant who tries to break from a totalitarian society while trying to win the affection of the princess he loves.
And A Bug's Life is basically Three Amigos.
You're right. Or Magnificent Seven.
Or Magnificent Seven, yes.
Which is Three Amigos. Yes.
But it's the story of, the grasshoppers are going to try to take over the ants world, and so they try to hire these outside bugs to scare them off.
Do the grasshoppers have names at all? Or?
Nope, none of them.
Here's the thing. I almost want to give the edge to Bug's Life because as one of the best Disney villains of all time.
No,
stop. So I actually made myself a promise I wasn't going to go off about this.
I didn't even think about that when this movie was on there, and now I hate everyone.
No, it's all right. I'm going to refrain because I know this could go on for 20 minutes.
Well, and I do want to bring up, I did want to bring up the names because just to show you the difference between Antz, which was made by DreamWorks.
Yes, their first animated film.
Yeah, and then Bug's Life, which is Pixar Disney. But just listen to the characters' names, okay? So Antz has Flick, Hopper, Princess Ada, Dot, Queen, Molt, Slim, Heimlich, like all these one-syllable kind of simple names for kids to say.
Right.
And then you get into Antz, and it's like Z4195, that's the main character, General Mandible, Princess Bala, Corporal Weaver, Azteca, Colonel Cutter, and Staff Sergeant Barbados. They don't know how to do kids' names.
Yeah.
Like, that's not kid-friendly at all. And Antz was not kid-friendly.
It was not. In fact, there was casual swearing in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange.
Can I
It's
tell
been
you
a long time since I've seen that.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
So when I was on my mission, it's one of those stories.
One of these, okay.
Yeah, no, we were they, at the Christmas party, they'd always show some sort of, movie, Disney movie or something like that. And apparently they picked Antz, not knowing kind of what the movie was. And we watched it, and we were all kind of like, well, that's an odd movie to pick. And there was some stuff in there that we wanted, you don't hear that on the mission when, mission presence in the room and stuff like that. Okay. Sure. He didn't show it again. Like all the other subsequent conferences that
He didn't
Christmas,
watch it first, or he didn't know?
No, he didn't screen it. And then he watched it, and then I think they got Prince of Egypt after that. Everyone else got Prince of Egypt.
So I actually have reasoning.
Love that movie.
I have reasoning behind this one being a twin movie. And it may be a little bit conspiratorial, but I think that the proof is in the pudding.
Speculate like crazy, kids.
In fact, if you're an avid reader of ShowtimeShowdown.com,
you know what's funny?
blog
is like today when I'm doing research for the show, I Google like why were twin movies made? And on the first page of Google, like 5 or 6 down is Showtime Showdown. I'm like, hey, I wrote that. So I looked into this years and years ago, totally forgot about it. But Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was part of Disney. Really? I love it.
That's embarrassing.
No, anything with cats is good. He was part of Disney during like the Aladdin days and Lion King days and just like the heyday of Disney. Well, he left Disney right around like I think a little bit after Toy Story came out, but he kept in touch with John Lasseter, and John Lasseter was like, okay, look, man, I know you're working for another studio, but I want to throw like basically brainstorm with you. I want to make this movie about bugs. Katzenberg's listening going,
I got bugs in my hair. Anyone? Pearl Jam? Vitology? No.
Oh, yeah. Bugs.
Oh, yeah, they did okay in our bracket. Anyway, so Bugs Life went into development. Meanwhile, Antz basically is announced out of nowhere, has a stellar voice cast, and comes out, what was it, 1 month?
Stellar voice cast?
Yeah, I know. You have
1 month after,
You have Christopher Walken, you have Sylvester Stallone, Woody Allen.
Yeah, but
these
coming
guys
out-
are true actors compared
Dave
to like Dave
Foley.
Foley. Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall. Like, I think Antz actually has the better voice cast. But
Coming out 1 month after, though, isn't that just an instant disadvantage?
it is, but it did manage to take away some of the Bugs Life thunder. Because,
Yeah, that's true.
you know, you look at the marketing, like you said, and it's a bit confusing.
But it's also funny because apparently there was contention with when they wanted to release Antz and Bugs Life. And then DreamWorks was so bugged at Disney because they wanted to release Prince of Egypt, one of their movies, and Disney had what was it? There was another movie coming out at the same time, and they asked Disney to move it, and Disney said, "Nope, we're not playing ball with you anymore."
Oh, okay, so maybe that started all like this strife.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's possible.
Interesting.
And I know, and just statistic wise, Bugs Life tripled the money of Antz, and it also, but
Antz did very, very well.
Antz got 171 million.
Wow.
Domestically.
Bugs Life got that was worldwide.
Was it worldwide?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I looked it up, and then Bugs got 363. But Antz did outscore Bugs Life on Rotten Tomatoes. Antz got 96%. Bugs Life got 92%.
Go Bugs Life.
Go Bugs Life?
Yeah, because I
For
don't
being
care
lower.
about that site
Yeah.
that you just referenced, so it means nothing to me.
Every time we bring
Can't resist it.
Fun fact, Randy Newman
It's
actually...
like I begin like measurements, and he'd be like, "No, I use the metric system."
I do. So the edge here, obviously, is Bugs Life. It's a Pixar movie.
Not according to
sure.
Rotten Tomatoes, though.
Yeah, whatever that is. Bugs Life is infinitely more watchable. Antz is about like psychology of bugs. It basically turned into B-movie 10 years later. I don't think Antz is watchable at all.
And for me, this is Hopper territory.
Hey, he said.
Yay.
All right.
Bugs Life takes the win.
Hopper takes the win. Next match.
I never said that.
Thanks, Jake.
I never said that.
That's what I heard. Let's go with Deep Impact from May 1998 versus Armageddon from July 1998.
Deep impact. Unless a comet can be destroyed before colliding with Earth, only those allowed into shelters will survive. Which people will survive? I love that that's in the description.
Only which people?
Only witch people.
You put on a hat, you get
Wiccans
a room.
only. And then
This movie is not the way I remembered it.
so that came out in May, and then Armageddon in July. You don't want to close your eyes. You don't want to follow sleep.
No.
because you'll miss something.
'Cause there's
No.
witches?
and you don't want to miss a thing.
Thank you, Steven Tyler.
You okay?
No,
You
my
good?
throat hurts. So Deep Impact and Armageddon, we can boil it down. They're both about giant, and this is a weird one.
Yeah.
Within the span of 2 months, two big movies about giant asteroids about to apocalypse the world. Is that a word?
No, and neither is
Anthropomorphize.
asteroids being what anthropomorphized. That's a
Yeah.
I think they're meteors actually when they
they're
hit the
in-
Earth.
When they hit the Earth, yeah, but outside they're asteroids.
Yeah, but it's not about asteroids hitting the Earth.
Well, they get them while they're asteroids away from space.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is not worth it. I don't care.
So, in case you get them confused, Deep Impact stars Taya Leone, Morgan Freeman,
Elijah Wood,
Elijah
Lily
Wood.
Sobieski,
and
from Joyride fame.
Lily Sobieski. I love saying her name.
Joyride fame.
I love Joyride.
I know you do.
Love that
That's why I
movie.
said that.
Candy cane. And then Armageddon stars Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler. Is Ed Harris in that one too?
No, I don't believe so.
I just always picture him in the control room. Anytime there's a space,
Billy Bob Thornton.
Ed Harris is always there in the background somewhere.
he is somewhere.
Ed TV.
So, Jacob, do you want to guess which one did better at the box office?
Armageddon, for sure.
Correct. It's a Michael Bay movie. Of course it did.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess which one did better on Rotten Tomatoes?
Maybe Armageddon again.
No, it's actually Deep Impact with 48%.
Remember Michael Bay.
Against Armageddon, against Armageddon's 39%.
Michael Bay made Armageddon. Just remember that.
Yeah.
So actually, a little bit of history about this one is Spielberg was like heavily relied on at DreamWorks. This was early days of DreamWorks, and they went forward. They announced this project.
DreamWorks?
Wait.
Yeah, DreamWorks.
For
Which
Deep
one?
Impact?
For Deep Impact.
Oh.
Yeah, and so they're working on this one, and then all of a sudden Touchstone is like, hey, we've got a movie called Armageddon, and Michael Bay's attached. And Armageddon was almost fast-tracked to completion and came out just before Deep Impact. And Spielberg got really upset and wanted to sue Touchstone, but they just went forward with it anyways. And obviously Armageddon became the bigger movie of the summer, and Deep Impact is maybe a little bit more forgotten, would you say? Except for Morgan Freeman being president.
Astronomers describe Deep Impact as being more scientifically accurate. They call them meteors. And then Roger Ebert said about Armageddon, it's on his list of most hated films.
Wow.
In his original view, Ebert stated, the movie is an assault on the eyes, the ears, the brain, common sense, and the human desire to be entertained. And yet it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards.
Suicide Squad.
Nice. Fun fact about Deep Impact: a line was edited in Morgan Freeman's his press conference scene.
All right, I'm
and he
ready.
said, "Life will go on.
Life will go on.
We will prevail. We will prevail.
We will prevail.
This is not Armageddon."
This is not Armageddon.
That was in the script.
Wait, he said that?
Yeah, but they cut it. They cut it because it literally says, "This is not Armageddon." Like, we are going to cancel the apocalypse.
But it came out first.
Yeah, but they knew that both movies were coming out, and they knew we can't just say that. That's too tongue in cheek.
Well,
Yeah.
and according to Bruce Joel Rubin, the writer of Deep Impact, a production president at Disney took notes on everything the writer said during lunch about his script and initiated Armageddon as the counterfilm at Disney. This may have been espionage.
It may have been.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. Oh, also, I did want to say this, that actually after Deep Impact came out, Joe Roth, one of the producers, expanded the film's budget, expanded Armageddon's budget by $3 million to include additional special effects to show themselves, like they showed it in a trailer just to show how cooler they were than Deep Impact.
Well, that's smart.
There was a
honestly.
rivalry here.
So who's the better twin, Joel?
Yep, let's hear it.
You know what? Here's the issue.
Choose between these ugly babies.
So true. That's how I feel. Because I remember I watched Deep Impact at a drive-in movie theater, and I remember watching it.
It always kind of taints the experience.
It always, yeah, right, it lowers it by like a half star if you watch it in a movie. But I remember watching it going, this is kind of ridiculous. Like the whole movie I was kind of, And then Armageddon, I watched it, and I'm like, they have a guy riding a giant missile, like goofing around. Like it was just so bizarre and tongue-in-cheek. And then also just the fact that they can't train astronauts to be drillers, but they can train drillers to be astronauts.
On the DVD commentary, Ben Affleck he's talking about, it's about a minute and a half long. Go find it on YouTube if you can. It's a little bit coarser language, but he says, doesn't anyone else find this ridiculous that they would train these oil drillers to become astronauts in 90 days and not these astronauts who are brilliant minds to drill a hole?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, think about that for a second, just ripping on the movie.
Well, and actually he did say he approached Michael Bay with that question, and Michael Bay told him to shut bleep up.
Right.
Basically. And then he's like,
Great guy to work with.
And that was the end of that argument. So, but I'm going to have to give this one to Armageddon. I think it's the more enjoyable of the two. While Deep Impact, it takes itself more seriously, I would prefer to watch Armageddon.
We're finally going to have a fight.
Deep Impact. It's a better
You knew
movie.
that? You knew you picked the other one?
It's a better movie. It's a smarter movie. Honestly, I think Morgan Freeman is great as the president. The concepts they use of hiding everyone. And remember, there were 2 impacts that were going to happen, 2 big threats, and like the threats were real. The only threat in Armageddon was like, hope everyone on Earth is okay. Let's see these cowboys up in space.
Except for, and I would agree with you there, because one of the asteroids, spoiler, does hit the Earth in a Deep Impact and cause the giant tsunami that they could have gotten away from if they would have walked 5 feet up the beach.
If you get on a dirt bike and ride up a hill, you're good.
You're good. But then I have to give it to Armageddon simply because that, spoiler alert, Bruce Willis death scene when he blows up and you see his whole life flash before
He
your eyes.
dies?
Yeah.
Thanks
whole
a
time.
lot.
The whole time.
Dang it, Joel.
But then instead of showing him die, it shows his whole life flash before his eyes. You see him and his daughter growing up, and it's a very touching moment. Mm-hmm. And then
You mean the animal cracker touching moment? Is that what you meant?
no, not that part. But then you have the song too, which I referenced when I first talked about this movie, because I don't remember any songs from memorable things from Deep Impact.
A song makes a better movie. Billy Bob Thornton had admitted to doing Armageddon for the money and often jokes about acting in it. He has, however, called it not that bad. Steve Buscemi was asked about why he did the film, and he said, I wanted a bigger house.
We got to distinguish which film.
Armageddon.
Okay.
Both of these are Armageddon. And the last thing, the cuts in Armageddon, like if you put it all together, 1.5 seconds each cut. Like, this movie is the beginning of Moulin Rouge.
But Michael Bay has said that
I trust Michael Bay.
Yeah. No, but he said that the movie was basically taken away from them at the end. Like, they had to meet this deadline. They had to, go at this time.
For espionage.
And yeah, essentially. But, and so he said that he regrets the way it was filmed in the end because they had to rush that third act because they had to get it done. So if he could do it over again, he said he would go a little bit better, but I still think it turned out quite nicely.
Jake?
Can't you do a good Steve Buscemi?
Hey, fellow kids.
Buscemi? How do you say
Steve
it?
Buscemi.
This is not
I do the
Armageddon.
My eyes when I get really tired are basically Steve Buscemi eyes.
I can see that.
I'm going to go with Deep Impact because Armageddon.
You always go with
Armageddon is a terrible, terrible, terrible
Fun
film.
fact.
Just remember what Ebert said. He did
Fun
not say
fact.
that about it, and he's right.
So a coworker of mine, he asked me, "Hey, what episodes of Baconsale should I listen to?" Because there's 100 episodes. I don't want to listen to all of them.
Why not?
I don't know. But I just said, "Oh yeah, I can make a highlight reel for you." I sent him like 36 episodes.
That's not good. Good luck.
But he's
One
working,
third.
But he's working through them, and he came to me just this week and said, "You know how you always joke about how Jacob always sides with Kent? He really does." And I went, "I know, right?"
Jake.
All right. Well,
Best buddies.
You know, a minute ago when you were like, you knew he was going to pick Deep Impact? And that's because I was like, I would never pick Armageddon. I was like pretty sure Ken wouldn't
We're
either.
both using logic.
Logic goes a long way
I'm
sometimes.
going with emotion.
All right. Next matchup. Let's do something more modern. Olympus Has Fallen, March of 2013 versus White House Down, June of 2013. Again, this was very confusing.
Okay, Olympus Has Fallen. Disgraced Secret Service agent and former presidential guard Mike Banning finds himself trapped inside the White House in the wake of a terrorist attack.
Oh, no.
Using his inside knowledge, Banning works with national security to rescue the president from his kidnappers.
Oh, yeah.
And mine is Magic Mike helps Ray escape the White House.
These are totally twin movies.
Ray. I think you mean, what's his character in Spider-Man?
Oh, Electro.
Yeah, so he helps Electro escape.
Yeah, Electro escape. That'd be good.
So the Olympus Has Fallen came out March 2013. White
do you
House
want-
Down
do you want to
came
give
out
the-
June 2013.
Do you want me to give you the real thing here?
No, you're good. You pretty much have it.
While on a tour with his White House with his young daughter, a Capitol policeman springs into action to save his child and protect the president from a heavily armed group of parliamentary paramilitary invaders. Parliamentary invaders. So yeah, Olympus Has Fallen stars Gerard Butler and Aaron Eckhart. White House Down stars Channing Tatum and Jimmy Fox, just to keep them apart. And they came once again a couple months apart.
Yeah.
I don't get this one. I don't.
Yeah, one's directed by Antoine Fuqua. I like just saying that name because it's a little bit risky.
It is a cool name.
And then the other's directed by Roland Emmerich.
Yes.
And Roland Emmerich of Independence Day Resurgence fame did White House
Oh,
Down.
come on. Resurgence fame. He's made some good movies.
Is it
Yeah, like
famous?
10,000 BC.
No, stop.
Like 2012.
Poor Roland Emmerich.
Well, look, 2012 did what it was supposed to do. Like, that's just the truth.
What?
Make
Suck?
John Cusack a star.
Oh, where's John
that's-
Cusack?
I miss
Poor
him.
John Cusack.
I like John Cusack.
These are the same thing. One has North Korea attacking the White House and actually should have been a really terrible movie. This is Olympus Has Fallen. And I went in, and Joel, you haven't seen either of these, right?
No, I actually haven't.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, like I had to do research for the show on a couple of these because some I'd seen both, some I'd seen only one, some I'd seen neither. And this is one of those where I went, man, I really need to watch at least one of these, but they're both terrible from what I hear.
Right. I would say most of these twin movies, they're just bad. It's choosing ugly babies, as you said.
Not all, though.
Not all. We'll
Not
get
all
to the good
but,
ones.
yeah.
But it is weird how like these twin movies, it's like almost they split the vote and it's not quite as strong because they
Right.
took the fun of both of them.
And so Olympus Has Fallen actually surprised me by being enjoyable. It's no Die Hard, so I'm not making that comparison, but it's kind of like Die Hard in the White House. Whereas White House Down really wanted to be Die Hard in the White House, but was just terrible. Jamie Foxx with like a rocket launcher in a limousine shooting it at the White House. It was just cringeworthy bad.
Well, and Sony lost a lot of money there that summer, and they they basically blamed it on White House Down, saying it's the key reason for the weakness was that flop.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into that.
And so I'll make the choice here. It is Olympus Has Fallen has the clear lead of the two bad movies.
You know, I remember watching it, but I can't remember anything from it. Like, I remember
Morgan
Gerard
Freeman's
Butler.
in
And,
it.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman not as the president this time, which is kind of weird.
I was
yeah, because
demoted
it's Aaron Eckhart, right?
because of my work with the Penguins.
I thought London Has Fallen as well.
Oh, it's terrible. London Has Fallen is actually terrible.
But it's still got a sequel. White House Down, not getting a sequel.
No.
So we're giving this one to Olympus Has Fallen?
Yes.
Joel, you're not even going to vote because you haven't seen him. I should
did
have
the
voted,
research.
and then you could have broken the tie.
What would you say?
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Thank you.
I'm glad we got added the extra minute on this one.
I wanted to fight you on it, but I'm like, how am I going to defend that? No.
Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx. Come on.
I will tell you this, though. I remember that movie better. I remember White House Down better. Like, I remember different scenes from it because I remember laughing at it quite a bit. So it's become more memorable.
So bad.
Like at the end when she's waving the flag in the air.
Oh my gosh, I hated that. And the jets are flying over.
Yeah.
That's a true Michael Bay moment.
Wait, are we talking about The Rock?
Yes.
All right, what's the next one?
Next match is Tombstone, December 1993 versus Wyatt Earp, June 1994.
So these are a little more spread apart, but still, I'll read the synopsis for Tombstone. A successful lawman's plans to retire anonymously in Tombstone, Arizona, are disrupted by the kind of outlaws he was famous for eliminating. I got an accent midway through there.
Yeah, it's because he's actually a planet. So it's just the manifestation of his body that's come to retire.
I knew it. And Wyatt Earp?
Wyatt Earp is a movie about a man and his family. The movie shows us the good times and the bad times of one of the West's most famous individuals. That is the worst description ever.
Is that IMDb?
Or is it just the worst reading ever?
Yeah.
Put a little more emotion into it.
Wyatt Earp is a movie about a man and his family. Who will survive?
In a world. Tombstone, starring Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, and Wyatt Earp, starring Kevin Costner.
Do you like how we're already like giving away our play?
No, I'm going to fanboy a little bit here. I loved Tombstone as a kid, and Val Kilmer is awesome in this movie.
We're not saying Tombstone isn't.
I know. I'm just saying.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. I need to watch that movie again.
My wife loves Tombstone. Loves it. It's one of her favorite movies.
How could you not love Tombstone?
I know. Can I bash on Kevin Costner a little bit here?
Oh, come on. This is a bad time for him.
So
The Postman.
Right, but Costner was actually involved with Tombstone. Mm-hmm. He was originally going to be part of that, but then he disagreed with the focus of the movie. He felt the emphasis should have been on Wyatt Earp rather than the ensemble of characters. So he left the project and teamed up with these other guys to produce his own movie. Then he used his clout to convince most of the major studios to refuse to distribute the competing film, which is why they had a hard time casting the project.
They had a hard time casting Tombstone?
Yeah, apparently.
Well, they have a great cast.
Yeah.
I know. So it's like they couldn't get Kevin Costner, though.
Oh.
I think we can all agree that Tombstone, without the Doc Holliday character, without Val Kilmer in that role, would have not been the same.
No, definitely not the
Like
same.
Kurt Russell is great at Wyatt Earp and everything, but it's Doc Holliday who makes that movie. He is your Huckleberry.
And it's a delicious frozen pizza.
Is it?
Tombstone.
Is it
Out of the
better
frozen
than
pizzas?
DiGiorno?
Yes. I don't like DiGiorno.
This is a different show
This
that
is
we
a
actually
show.
planned a
This
year
is
ago.
actually a show. Frozen pizza show.
And then we had the layoffs and we didn't do it. So
Tombstone, easily.
Tombstone, easily.
Yeah, Tombstone. Sweet Tombstone.
I do want to just kind of dig into Wyatt Earp a little bit more here.
No, do. And if you have any other cool Tombstone facts, that'd be cool.
Tombstone made about 56 million domestically, and Wyatt Earp made 25 million, so about less than half. But it had, I've got to get these straight. So Wyatt Earp took in 25 million, and they had a $63 million budget. And then Tombstone only had a $25 million budget, but they made 56 million.
Okay.
That's
there
all
you
they
go.
made?
So, well, I mean, domestically.
Do you remember
Back in
how
the 80s,
back in like the 90s, though, if you made $50 million, I mean, like you had a low budget because budgets were smaller back
Now
then.
$50 million is nothing.
Now it's nothing because a movie costs $150 million to market and produce.
That's true.
Roger Ebert also said, Wyatt Earp plays as if they took Tombstone and pumped it full of hot air. Oh,
That's about right, actually. And it always just felt like, hey, Tombstone was really successful. Let's make another one. Mm-hmm. Except let's make it longer and less interesting.
yeah, and about the one character instead of Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, we already had a one, but I just wanted to dig into Wyatt Earp a bit more.
My random thing this reminds me of my 14th birthday. I had a bunch of free time, and I literally watched Tombstone 2 times in a row. Because I liked it so much.
Sad child.
I loved it. Actually, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest!"
For my birthday, I want to watch Tombstone twice.
Why do I have that voice? Why
It's
does
Jake's Southern voice.
Your voice hadn't dropped yet.
Oh,
Did any friends come to your birthday, Jake?
no, I didn't have a party on that day.
No one came to my Tombstone party.
My party is okay. Get it?
I got it.
Right? Oh, come on.
What kind of ice cream did he have there? Huckleberry.
Oh, okay.
Like we didn't see that coming.
That's why I was waiting for you to say it.
No, we just wanted you to sit there, awkward silence. All right,
Like
next
you at
movie.
your birthday party.
Oh,
That was the idea. That was the idea. Yeah. All right. All right, next movie matchup is Dante's Peak from February 1997 versus Volcano, April 1997.
I feel like this is the quintessential movie twin thing, because who makes volcano movies?
Yeah, maybe I should have saved this one for the end.
Why then? That is so bizarre. All right, you want to do Dante's Peak summary?
A volcanologist, and I swear that's a real thing.
Live long and prosper.
By the way, I do know the longest...
You just like these words that sound like a little too edgy.
I think it was because of this movie I memorized the longest word in the dictionary, which is pneumona ultramicroscopic cilium volcanocomiosis.
Really? I thought it was... no, I can't even do it anymore. I don't even remember what it was. Necrobiosis lipoitica diabeticorum.
Hold on. Let's say it at the same time.
Look, we're just going to make up
diabeticorum. I think yours might be longer.
Just by 4 letters.
It's science, folks.
And on the next episode of Baconsale, we try to outdo each other with words.
Mine is a rash that diabetics get, by the way.
Oh, really? Mine is a volcanic disease.
Wow.
I don't even know if that's true. All right, go ahead. A volcanologist arrives at a countryside town recently named the second most desirable place to live in America. Why am I reading this?
Why does it say that?
I love it.
What does that have to do with anything? The second most desirable place to live in America, and discovers that the long dormant volcano Dante's Peak may wake up at any moment.
And then mine is from Volcano. A volcano erupts in downtown Los Angeles. What? Yes, downtown Los Angeles, threatening to destroy the city.
No. Much like Deep Impact, Dante's Peak is considered more accurate than Volcano about volcanic eruption.
Well,
which one was Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah, it was Volcano.
The leading leading romantic lead, Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche.
But okay.
Feel the burn.
So, I mean, Mount St. Helens erupted in what, 1980?
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. But why 17 years later, did we get 2 movies months apart from each other about volcanoes?
Well, think about it. We had Twister in 1995, I think. And so natural disasters were a big thing again.
They were a thing.
Kind of like the 70s were all about natural disasters. It kind of came back. And they said, what's scary? Volcanoes? Let's try this.
I guess. It just seems bizarre. Also, quoting Roger Ebert again.
Wow, this is like the Roger Ebert tribute show.
Moment of silence. He said, it's said the volcano costs a lot more than Dante's Peak, a competing volcano movie released 2 months ago. But it doesn't look it. Dante's Peak had better special effects, more entertaining story, and a real mountain. Roger Ebert.
And a real mountain?
Apparently that mountain in Dante's Peak was very fake looking to him. I don't remember it that well. In fact, the only thing I really remember about, I think it was Volcano, was when the lava is going on these car tires and the car tires all start to explode.
Because in Volcano, there's an earthquake. And the lava comes from under the ground.
Under the ground.
And it's like a slow crawl across LA, and they spend the whole movie trying to divert the flow.
And John Cusack's just driving ahead of it, just barely the whole time.
Never divert the flow.
Whereas like Dante's Peak, there's risk here. Like there are people burned in like acidic pools. I mean, it is coming off the mountain. There's like pyroclastic explosions and everything like that. It's actually kind of fun to watch.
And
wait,
James
which one are you
Bond.
saying right
Dante's Peak.
Oh, okay.
With James Bond and Sarah Connor.
Kind of cool.
Cool. And they're actually pretty close financially. $178 million for Dante's Peak, $122 million for Volcano.
All right, take your pick, gentlemen.
Dante's Peak. This is the quintessential volcano movie. On my list of volcano movies, this is number 1.
Except that I'm going to have to go with Volcano.
How? How in the world can
Because the
you go with
only thing
Volcano?
hotter than that volcano is Tommy Lee Jones' love for
Anne Heche. I just remember... truthfully, it's because I remember more of Volcano than I do of Dante's Peak. And
Well,
I thought
you just said
that's
tires popping.
They're from Volcano.
That was all you remember.
That's
is
one of the
not a
few
good
things I actually
filmmaker.
remember. But at least I remember that. Dante's Peak, I'm like, yeah, I remember the poster.
You don't
but-
remember the grandma dying in
Nope.
like the river flow?
All right.
That's a sad part.
Next Baconsale sleepover. We're watching disaster movies all night.
No.
Starting with these 2.
I'd sooner watch Dante's Peak than Volcano any day.
I'd watch Volcano.
Pierce Brosnan over crusty old Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay, a Bond who killed the Bond franchise versus
that is
Tommy
harsh.
Lee Jones from The Fugitive.
The perfect looking Bond who was in one really good Bond movie.
Whoa. Some true feelings just came out.
Oh my gosh.
Hello,
And
Pierce.
Sarah Connor versus Ellen's girlfriend and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
The choice is easy. A Chuckarama.
I hate to do it, but I'm going to side with Kent again.
Do you hate to do it?
Well,
Do you?
Logic, once again.
I like to be right, so I better side with Kent. All right, so Dante's Peak wins. Finding Nemo versus Shark Tale. Finding Nemo is 2003 and Shark Tale the following year, 2004.
And it does feel a little unfair to compare these two, but at the same time, it's they're both underwater movies with marine life as the main characters, both aimed at kids. So,
sort of.
Finding Nemo, the synopsis is essentially really bad stuff happens for the entire movie and will stress out your kids.
Yeah.
The end.
No, Nemo gets lost and his dad has to go find him, and he meets Dory, and then Dory gets a sequel. That's the synopsis.
Yeah, Shark Tale is basically trying really hard to be a Martin Scorsese movie, but while using racist stereotypes.
Martin Scorsese movie? How is it a Martin Scorsese movie? It's just like Will
Martin
Smith.
Scorsese's in it.
It's a gangster film, underwater, but Will Smith plays the lead character.
I just remember it had a bunch of like real like famous actors, and it was silly.
Jack Black, Will Smith,
Robert De Niro,
yeah,
Renee Zellweger, Angelina Jolie.
By the way, Renee Zellweger is in pretty much every animated film of the late 90s, early 2000s.
She was. What was up with that?
Who are you guys talking about?
You don't recognize her anymore.
Oh.
No, that's Fiona Apple.
What is going on? What is going on? So, yeah, Nemo creams Shark Tale.
The fact that you forgot the name of the movie.
Shark Tale at the box office. Almost $1 billion for Nemo, where Shark Tale did it okay with $367 million.
That's more than okay.
But Nemo, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. I keep wanting to say Shark Tank.
Shark
Tale,
Tank?
35%.
Here's what I love, and I feel like this is every Pixar pitch meeting, where Andrew Stanton, one of the directors and creators of Pixar, was talking to John Lasseter, and he says, "I've got a movie for you." And he talked for an hour about his pitch for Finding Nemo. And then Lasseter says, "Stop.
Hammer time.
You had me at fish." That's all
you
need to do. You need to go to
And
Pixar and
that's
say,
why Renee Zellweger was cast.
"I've got a movie. It's about cars. What should we call it?" Cars. Like when he said,
well, they didn't call this one Fish.
They didn't. Thank goodness.
Shark Tale.
Shark Tale. Exactly.
Shark Tale. By the way, Finding Nemo is the best-selling DVD title of all time.
Wow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Righteous.
And the highest-grossing G-rated film of all time before Toy Story 3 overtook it.
The Anti-Italian Defamation League protested the Shark Tale's release even after changes to the film were made to appeal to them, and they still disavowed the film because the whole movie is like, here's the Jewish fish, here's the Italian stereotype fish, and it just kind of, here's the vegetarian fish who's a little bit effeminate. Every character is a stereotype. And this movie is really poorly animated as well. I know it's in the early days of animation, but just everything is off. Whereas Finding Nemo, 2004, they actually do some pretty incredible stuff.
They do.
And
from the technical aspect, yeah.
Yeah, so Finding Nemo.
Yeah, like that had a chance.
I want to point out that Ken has voted for 2 Pixar movies.
I know.
You did this on purpose.
I was noticing that.
Shame on you.
Ken loves Pixar. Yeah.
Loves Pixar.
Wants to marry it. He wants to ask it if he can kiss it.
I want to give it the claw. Ew.
All right. Mission to Mars, March of 2000 versus Red Planet, November of 2000. I remember when this came out too. It was so confusing.
No, and you look at the posters, it's hard to tell one from the
because
other.
you didn't care.
Well, that's what happens, right? You see it and you're like, I don't get it. I don't care about either one.
So you want to read the mission from
Then I
Mars?
just go watch Transmorphers.
Transmorphers?
More than meets your ocular. When the first manned mission to Mars meets with a catastrophic and mysterious disaster, after reporting an unidentified structure, a rescue mission is launched to investigate the tragedy and bring back any survivors.
So that's a little different because Red Planet is astronauts and their robotic dog, Amy... which stands for
Is this Congo?
Autonomous Mapping, Evaluation, and Innovation. Search for solutions to save a dying Earth by searching on Mars, only to have the mission go terribly awry.
Who uses terribly awry anymore?
This was a while ago.
Yeah. I will say that Mission to Mars does have the music by Ennio Morricone.
Oh, see? Just having that makes you like...
And it's directed by Brian De Palma, too. Mission to Mars.
Have you guys both seen these?
I have not seen Red Planet.
I think I saw Mission to Mars.
I have not seen either
They're all blurred in my head. But can I tell you something funny about Red Planet? So, starring Val Kilmer, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Tom Sizemore. And apparently this is the movie that ruined Tom Sizemore and Val Kilmer's relationship.
Oh, how sad.
Kilmer reportedly became enraged when he discovered that production had paid for Sizemore's exercise machine to be shipped to the set. Kilmer shouted, "I'm making $10 million on this. You're only making $2 million." To which Sizemore responded by throwing a 50-pound weight at Kilmer, which missed. The two were.
How do you throw a 50-pound weight?
He ate it. Kilmer then ate the weight.
Oh no! The two were.
Where are you going?
Here's the best part, though. The two were soon refusing to speak to each other or even come onto the set if the other were present, necessitating the use of body doubles to shoot scenes involving both actors.
How terribly embarrassing for humans.
I know.
Even in the movie, Kilmer would never say Tom Sizemore's character's name. He actually just said, "Hey, you." Hey, you. Like, what a jerk.
Yeah. By the way, Jacob, and this is just, I hope to not put you on the spot. I thought this was very basic knowledge. I just wanted to bring it up to you. Do you know the 4 letters of the genetic code?
You mean like XY?
No. Like, those are chromosomes. Like the G.
No, I have no idea.
No? Okay. Kent?
No idea.
What?
I want to make a joke here, but I can't even think of one.
That's why
sounds
Gattaca
no fun.
is called Gattaca, because it's GATC, like when the
okay.
genetic
Yeah,
code
yeah,
mixes
that
together.
sounds familiar.
So it's pretty common, especially if you're doing a movie about science. In this movie, they call it A, G, T, and P. They didn't even get that right. And I remember being like, well, that's just ridiculous. And Red Planet is a bomb. It had a budget of $80 million. It only made $33 million.
$80 million budget?
And it only made $33
Man, they screwed that up. It's all time Sizemore's fault.
for throwing weights around.
Yeah. I mean, he's a weird dude, right?
He's
And the
weird.
guy that directed it, Anthony Hoffman, it was his only feature film. He only did television commercials before then and after.
And after.
It's really his only directing credit. So, yeah.
Can I choose neither?
No, you have to choose one.
I'm going to choose one I've seen, and I don't remember a thing about it. I think there may be aliens at the end, and that's Mission to Mars.
Mission to Mars.
I'm glad you guys agreed, so I didn't have to make an arbitrary decision.
That's pretty much all of Baconsale.
Whatever. I'm the one who defines meaning here. I'm the one who agrees with you. You better watch out.
Oh.
Madagascar, 2005 versus The Wild, 2006.
Which, if you look at the posters for these, just the posters alone, you will see that they are the exact same movie. It's almost creepy, like with the lion and the giraffe, although there was a koala in The Wild. But, Ken, you want to take the first one again?
The Wild, it's about an adolescent an adolescent lion is accidentally shipped from New York Zoo to Africa.
Oh, no.
Now running free, his zoo pals must put aside their differences to help bring him back. Okay, now let's do Madagascar.
It's all about King Julian! Yes! Spoiled by their upbringing and unaware of what wildlife really is, 4 animals from the New York Central Zoo escape unwittingly assisted by 4 absconding penguins. Who wrote this? Absconding penguins, and find themselves in Madagascar.
It's the second most desirable zoo in New York.
A New York zoo going to Africa. Exactly the same.
Here's what's interesting.
Why?
The Wild may actually be a better animated film.
Directed by Steve, quote, Spaz Williams.
What?
That's the name of the director of The Wild. Steve Spaz
Starring
Williams.
Kiefer Sutherland as a lion, which is actually kind of works.
I would watch that, yeah.
Have you watched it? Is it a Disney movie?
No, but he would.
Is The Wild a Disney movie?
It might be.
Because
Doesn't mean anything.
in Sweden and the UK, The Wild is considered a film in the Disney classic canon, and that actually excludes the film Dinosaur.
Oh, no.
I don't know why that's a fun fact.
About The Wild, I'm going to use some language here, so please, parents, cover your children's ears.
Yes, a first for Baconsale.
Critic Mike Sage wrote, "Don't be mistaking this for a Madagascar..." He's talking about The Wild. "Don't be mistaking this for a Madagascar ripoff when it was that sloppy DreamWorks turd that only managed to make it to theaters first because of corporate espionage."
Family friendly.
Thank you. Mike Sage seems like a nice guy, but The Wild is a mess. 20% Rotten Tomatoes, only 102 million, whereas Madagascar has got 532 million, spawned 2 sequels, and got a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. And also, I like King Julian. I actually really enjoy that character.
Which one's King Julian?
He's the Lima, King Julian.
Sacha Baron Cohen. It actually wasn't meant to be a big character, but because it's Sacha Baron Cohen, he was really famous at that time.
Yeah.
They're like, give him more lines.
And having seen the sequels, they're not terrible. And actually, I watched Penguins of
3
Madagascar.
is terrible.
I don't remember hating it.
Oh, it was awful.
I watched Penguins of Madagascar, which I thought I was going to hate. Actually, kind of funny. So,
I thought I knew you.
Madagascar.
That was his favorite movie
Madagascar.
of that summer. Whatever summer that was.
Madagascar.
All right, next match.
Okay.
Let's do Paul Blart Mall Cop, January 2009 versus Observe and Report, April 2009.
Paul Blart Mall Cop. When a shopping mall is taken over by a gang of organized crooks, it's up to a mild-mannered security guard to save the day.
What? A security guard? That is so weird, Kent.
Could he save it? Let's find out.
On his Segway.
Do you want to know why that's weird?
Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Kevin's on a Segway and he's fat.
Kevin, are you first name basis with Kevin James?
Oh, you didn't know?
Oh, that's weird. I'm so sorry for all the offense I've given him over the years.
And then
doesn't
observe
mind.
and report bipolar mall security guard Ronnie Barnhart is called into action. But when Barnhart can't bring the culprit to justice, a surly police detective is recruited to close the case.
Joel, you kind of missed part of the description there.
Isn't it Kevin James in both of them?
Well, it kind of feels like that.
It does.
But basically, Observe and Report is the raunchy version of Paul Blart Mall Cop. That's pretty much the only big difference there. Well, Seth Rogen said this. He said, we knew the whole time about each other's movies. You know, we're friends. We know these guys. So we would literally send each other pictures of the wardrobe just to make sure we weren't stepping on each other's toes. He says they're totally different movies.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Except they're not totally different movies.
They're not totally different movies.
But they are actually. They weren't marketed differently. But if you watch Observe and Report, I don't know if you've seen this, Joel. It's a really dark movie.
I've heard.
Like, you think it's going to be kind of slapstick and it's Seth Rogen just doing a stupid laugh.
So it's basically Very Bad Things.
It's kind of like a Very Bad Things
gosh,
in a
hope
mall.
not.
And it's uncomfortable to watch. There's maybe better quality jokes in Observe and Report, but I still don't remember anything about the movie. Whereas Paul Blart, man, I don't want to make a choice on this one.
Hey, just so you know, Roger Ebert gave Paul Blart Mall Cop 3 stars out of 4.
Oh,
What?
I want to make a joke about sanity. Anyways, but I'm not going to. According to an interview with Jay Leno, Kevin James did all of his own stunts
He fell down?
all the time.
Wow.
And that's actually Paul Blart is the first ever movie released in the month of January to gross over 100 million.
Wow.
Pretty crazy,
All
right?
right, Paul Blart Mall Cop. I'm giving it to that one.
It's for me. It's Observe and Report because it actually takes itself seriously, has a story, and doesn't rely on slapstick.
Except for the fact that Paul Blart Mall Cop is now a household name.
And has a great sequel.
And has a sequel. And I feel like it definitely did win here in box office with 183 million versus Observe and Report, which had 26 million.
Right. But for me, it's the ensemble. Like, for example, Michael Pena is in Observe and Report. And it's...
You loved him in Ant-Man.
Oh, loved him. But it's actually...
Once you get married.
I love making Ken say he likes these movies.
Clearly, by my tone, I mean this. But I have to say Observe and Report because in a world where I vote for Paul Blart Mall Cop...
In a world.
It's the last day I want to live. And so it has to be Observe and Report, even though I don't care about either.
How to choose between these two turds?
Family friendly, Jacob.
He's quoting that angry reviewer.
Yeah. That was for Madagascar in the Wild.
Oh, darn.
That's for children's movies.
Man.
Paul Blart's a children's movie.
It's a family movie. A family friendly movie.
But Observe and Report knows its audience, the Seth Rogen audience.
Yeah, but
And this was the same time as Pineapple
But its audience
Express.
didn't go see it in droves.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
He only did that
Yeah.
because he's been choosing my side.
Yeah.
No, it's
I
because
know,
you
but it
choose
still feels
badly.
good.
No, that's Paul Blart's obviously more successful. It's it's more approachable. It's a better movie. You just didn't want to pick it.
I will never vote for that in any world.
All right, that or
Sisters.
Here we go.
Sisters.
Please don't, guys.
no. What's the other one? What's the one he hates?
Spring Break.
That's it. Spring Break. Yeah. Spring
Shame
Breakers.
on you.
Spring Break versus
Apparently,
Paul Blart
this is the
Mall
last
Cop.
night I'm living. Because Paul Blart Mall Cop.
We got some show to do. Let's move on so I can not talk anymore because my mouth is not working.
It's because you have too comfortable a chair. All right. Next match: Mirror Mirror, March 2012 versus Snow White and the Huntsman, June 2012.
Mirror, mirror, an evil queen steals control of a kingdom and an exiled princess enlists the help of 7 resourceful rebels to win back her birthright. I kind of like that description of Snow White.
It is pretty good.
Now, Snow White and the Huntsman?
Snow White and the Huntsman. Bella Swan helps Thor fight against the evil
Hold on, her
queen.
name is Bella?
No, it's not. In a twist to the fairy tale, the huntsman ordered to take Snow White into the woods to be killed winds up becoming her protector and mentor in a quest to vanquish the evil
And
queen.
lover.
These are very different because I was very excited for Mirror, Mirror because it's directed by Tarsem Singh, who did The Fall. The
Yes.
Fall is an amazing movie.
And Lily Collins.
Yeah, right.
I absolutely adore her.
And so this one came out. Julia Roberts is the evil queen, and I don't really love Julia Roberts, whereas the other one, Charlize Theron, plays evil queen. But then you have Kristen Stewart and Thor. This is a toss-up.
Basically, you
these
would
are all
have
like.
for Kristen
Do you
Stewart
like how
and
this show is
Thor.
like we're all kind of like, not our hearts aren't in it, but
Yeah.
let's vote.
We have to defend this movie, even though it's like, because I really had high hopes for Mirror Mirror, and it disappointed me. And Huntsman outperformed. It had almost 400 million versus Mirror Mirror only having 183 million.
Right.
But I'm going to have to give this one to Huntsman simply because Mirror Mirror let me down, whereas Huntsman about hit where I thought it was going to.
I didn't expect that. I thought you were going to choose Mirror Mirror.
Yeah, I thought I would too. But as much as I like Lily Collins, as much as I like Tarsem Singh, sorry.
Well, I had zero expectations for that movie. Like, this one's going to be
For
terrible.
Huntsman or for Mirror Mirror?
Mirror Mirror.
Ah.
And I found it kind of charming because I had no expectation.
It has moments.
Yeah.
I think my review said something. It's a magical world where accents disappear and reappear because some people can hold them better than others.
Right.
So I have to choose between you two because you've
Apparently.
already made your choice, right, Jake?
You chose Mirror Mirror, and I chose Huntsman.
Yeah, sure.
Plot twist!
I'm going to have to go with Mirror Mirror because
You always choose Jacob.
it actually feels kind of like a European film.
Our
Why don't
plan
you
is
guys
working,
just sit on the
kids.
same chair and hug each other the whole show?
All right.
He never accepts. What? You will?
Oh no.
What just happened?
But and I'm going to say this. I do like Nick Frost and Bob Hoskins as the dwarves, two of the dwarves. But it kind of has like this cool like neo fantasy twist that was trying to exactly. Whereas like Mirror Mirror actually uses little people as the dwarves, and I feel like Snow White and the Huntsman was taking those jobs away. So I'm going.
you already
this is a
won.
human rights
I'm
issue.
going with Mirror Mirror.
You two already
Human
won and
rights issue.
agreed. Although if Lily Collins wins, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, she does. No help. No help from you. Can't believe you. All right. Next match is Iron Eagle 1986 versus Top Gun, or I should say January 1986 versus Top Gun May 1986. Which one of these have you heard of?
It's basically, and I want to point this out, it's Air Force versus Navy.
Iron Eagle, heroic young pilot Doug Masters. That's such an 80s name. Sorry to our fans named Doug Masters out there.
I hope we have one.
Launch. If you are a fan named Doug Masters,
Let us know.
still, please reach out to us. Launch. Oh, great! Now someone's going to create a Twitter feed. Twitter account.
Please don't. Please don't.
Launches a rescue mission
no, they're going to even more.
when his father, an Air Force veteran, is shot down over enemy territory and captured.
And for Top Gun, Maverick writes checks that his body can't cash. As students of the United States Navy's elite fighter weapons school compete to be the best in the class, one daring young pilot learns a few things from a civilian instructor that are not taught in the classroom, like playing volleyball on the beach with the boys.
Are you making? Are you?
Playing with the boys.
Did you read any of that, or are you just making that up?
No, I read some of it, and then yeah.
So
Some of it.
Top Gun is Transformers. Iron Eagle is GoBots.
But Iron Eagle came first.
It's true.
Iron Eagle was the first movie, and it got 24.1 million nationwide, whereas Top Gun got 356.8
I actually
million.
watched Iron Eagle quite a bit back in the day. I don't know
I
why.
did
I think
too.
because Top Gun was a little bit more risque than Iron Eagle.
You were watching Friday the 13th. We're on this time.
Not at this point. Not yet.
And the Navy was actually heavily involved in Top Gun and made a lot of script changes. It basically became a Navy recruiting film.
And it worked.
It did. It did. Recruitment was really up. But yeah, it's Top Gun. Is there any question it's Top Gun?
Yeah.
Let's
Top
just
Gun.
go. Yeah.
Actually, Val Kilmer did not want to be in Top Gun, but it became one of his most iconic performances.
Indeed, it is.
Iceman. Also, Iron Eagle had like 3 or 4 sequels, but none of them were good.
Did it really? Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Iron Eagle 2, Aces, Iron Eagle 3, and Iron Eagle on the Attack.
Fun fact about Top Gun, the real Top Gun school imposes a $5 fine to anyone in the staff that quotes the movie. $5, that's not huge.
No, it's not huge,
You
but
can be my wingman anytime.
and then also Top Gun, Academy Award winning Top Gun, because it won Best Original Song for Take My Breath Away. Boom, boom.
Oh, Twin Peaks?
Boom, boom. It is.
Okay, I caught on to it. There
And I
we go.
have tweeted that before, that those are very similar, and I thought they should get after each other. All right, so Top Gun.
All right. The next match is K9, April 1989 versus Turner and Hooch, July 1989.
classic films.
Which I also get confused with K9 because of Rin Tin Tin, K9 Cop.
Yeah.
I kept getting that confused with the movie K9. But
I think Top Gun is probably the best movie we've mentioned on the show.
I know, we're really talking about
hey,
good
I like
material
Turner
here.
and Hooch.
Here,
Okay.
Tombstone.
Oh, Tombstone. Sorry,
yeah.
you're right. You're right. So K9.
This is Slim Pickens.
To stop an elusive criminal, a maverick detective, played by John Belushi,
Maverick?
enlists the aid of a police dog who is an unusually intelligent smart aleck.
And Turner and Hooch. A detective must adopt the dog of a dead man to help him find the murderer.
I hate the 80s.
Why don't you guys just pick and we'll move on?
No, but K9 is James Belushi and a German Shepherd. Turner and Hooch is Tom Hanks and a French Mastiff. German Mastiff. No,
Turner
French
Hooch
Mastiff.
is actually a Doge de Bordeaux. A Doge, actually.
Doge.
And
He's French for
it's one of
doggy.
the most ancient French breeds.
Ooh. Also, and I want to point this out, this is spoiler territory. In K9, the dog gets shot and lives. In Turner and Hooch, the dog gets shot and dies. So, whichever one you want, go with that.
I know which one Kent wants.
I'm fine with dog death, so I'm going with Turner and Hooch.
Well, in Turner and Hooch, obviously is the more, it sounds so weird, obviously the more influential one. For what? Because it's been referenced so many other places.
It's true.
Like I remember there's a Scrubs episode when there's a doctor called Hooch.
Our life wouldn't be
Hooch
the
is
same
crazy.
without Turner and Hooch.
No. And they bring a guy in Turner and make a joke. And then, actually, on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, when Tom Hanks came on, Conan brought out a preserved dog skeleton and claimed it was Hooch's and gave it to Tom Hanks.
Turner and Hooch actually influenced Toy Story because they did an animation test footage of what's his name? Turner or Hooch?
Hooch is the dog.
Hooch is
Turner's
the
the cop.
But he's like, don't eat the car. And they used that as the Woody character to show Tom Hanks. And he's like, I've got to do this movie. And I've got to play it as that kind of character.
Well, there you go.
That's interesting.
Well, also, there was a pilot episode of Turner and Hooch TV series starring Tom Wilson from Back to the Future, Biff.
Oh, really?
There was going to be a Turner and Hooch series, but I just think it's the better movie. So
It is.
Turner and Hooch.
Whew. Glad that settled.
The most debate of all ages. The most influential cop dog movie of all time.
Let's jump through the rest.
I think it's like the best volcano movie, best cop dog movie.
Oh, man.
It's
All right.
late.
All right. Saving Private Ryan, July 1998 versus The Thin Red Line.
Oh, we have to talk about these
December
movies.
1998.
Lackluster films.
both up for an Academy Award for Best Picture, that's the only time this entire list of twins when we get 2 Academy Award nominees.
Thin Red Line was up for Academy? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know it was nominated.
Saving Private Ryan. Following the Normandy landings, a group of U.S. soldiers go behind enemy lines to retrieve a paratrooper whose brothers have been killed in action.
Bum, bum, bum. And then Thin Red Line, Terrence Malick's adaptation of James Jones's autobiographical 1960s novel focusing on the conflict at Guadalajara. I don't know, it's boring.
Actually, the movie is quite boring.
Well, it's
Terrence Malick.
It's Terrence Malick, which means it's going to be so beautiful to watch, but it's going to make you fall asleep. And Saving Private Ryan, I think everyone agrees that this was the year that Shakespeare in Love won. I think everyone agrees Saving Private Ryan should have won. It's got to go to Saving Private Ryan.
And Jake, you'll be happy to know this, but I have more time size, more facts. Actually, so Steven Spielberg was...
How big a weight did he throw at this guy?
Right. No, Steven Spielberg was really on his case, and he said, if I see you using any drugs, because he was an addict, during any point in this movie, even if we're almost done filming, I will cut your part and I will reshoot it. At any point of the movie.
I have a Tom Sizemore's fact as well.
You do?
Yeah. Because he was supposed to be in Thin Red Line, but he was offered a more substantial role in Saving Private Ryan. And when he could not contact Terrence Malick, the director, for several days, he decided to do Steven Spielberg's film instead.
He just decided that? Okay. And that's a good choice, right?
Yeah.
Although Thin Red Line has a great cast. I mean, it's a lot of people that weren't famous till a few years later, but like Jim Caviezel, Sean Penn, John Cusack, Adrian Brody, Jared Leto, Miranda Otto, John Travolta, and George Clooney.
That's quite a cast.
John Travolta hadn't been famous for years.
Right? He's just staying alive.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
Better
Private
movie.
Ryan.
This one is going to be tough, guys. This
All right.
one is going to draw blood.
All right.
I'm just going to tell you now.
All right.
Despicable Me, July 2010 versus Megamind, November 2010.
I actually asked that we take this one off the list.
And I said no. Why did I say no, Kent?
Because you want me to choose Paul Blart Mall Cop again.
Yes, I do. All right, which one are you doing?
Despicable Me. When a criminal mastermind uses a trio of orphan girls as pawns for a grand scheme, he finds their love is profoundly changing him for the better.
Can you do it in a Gru voice?
I don't even want to try.
Do it in Gru voice.
Can you?
Yes, do it in Gru voice.
Nope. Not going to do it.
And for Megamind, the supervillain Megamind finally defeats his nemesis, the superhero Metro Man.
Will Ferrell voice.
But without, I can't do it. but without a hero, he loses all purpose and must find new meaning in his life. So these are basically twin movies because they're both about a villain who has to become the hero against a bigger villain.
I found this really interesting. I'm glad I did the research. I'm glad we kept this on the show because the directors wrote a language.
Do you like this movie now?
Because I learned more about Minions, and that's what I love.
Whichever one you pick, whichever one wins, you still lose.
What is this, Alien versus Predator? This is Baconsale. Whoever wins, we all lose. Let them fight. But there is a language called Minionese.
That was Godzilla.
So Minionese. Anything they say that's gibberish actually translate to a real thing.
Yeah, they have a language.
Isn't that ridiculous?
That's awesome.
How is that awesome?
It works for
important.
Klingons.
Okay. What does banana mean? What does banana mean? Tell me that.
Banana.
What? I have to go Despicable Me at this point.
Ken, do you know how to say Tupperware in Portuguese?
No.
Tupperware.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know how to say mall?
It's because it's a brand name.
Shopping center.
No way.
I'm not kidding.
They're just cheating off America.
Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times awarded Megamind 3 out of 4 stars, stating, "This setup is bright and amusing, even if it does feel like recycled bits from such recent animated landmarks as The Incredibles with its superpowers and Despicable Me with its villain."
Right. I do like the premise of Megamind. It's the what if Lex Luthor defeated Superman? What would happen at that point?
With Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Jonah Hill, David Cross, and Brad Pitt.
I don't love that I read on this fun fact there are a total of 16 face smashes throughout the movie. Like, to me, that's just like
Face
smashes.
What does that mean?
Like people like hitting their face on the ground or door being slammed, like a face being slammed in the door, just like slapstick.
You have something against face smashing.
I do. I mean, unless my face is smashing against someone else. Am I right?
That's last episode.
It's gross. But I'm going to have to give it to Despicable Me. I think that it launched a franchise, which I always think deserves a little more respect. Although they both did pretty well. Despicable Me had over 500 million. Megamind had over 300 million. So they did all right. But in the end, I'm going with Despicable Me.
Go ahead, Kent. Let's see what you choose.
Oh my gosh. I cannot vote for the one that created Minions. But I don't like Will Ferrell. I don't care for Brad Pitt.
I know,
I don't
you
care for
can't-
Jonah
you can't
Hill.
win.
I don't
This
care
is-
for
this
Tina
is-
Fey.
What about David
Why are
Cross?
you
What
doing
about
this
David
to
Cross?
me?
Joel, I'm glad you made him keep
David
this.
Cross in certain things, meaning Arrested Development.
Okay.
That is it. Oh my gosh.
Can't remember in Megamind how he says spider, and it's funny the whole time every time he says it.
Hey, remember the Minions and how they still exist?
Yeah, now they still exist and actually are a way bigger franchise than Despicable Me.
Oh my
You must
gosh.
choose, but choose wisely.
Which thing do you wish didn't exist in the world more?
Hey, Kent, if you agree with me, this argument's over. We can move on.
It's so fluffy. It's got to be Despicable Me.
Wait, say I vote for Despicable Me.
No, please don't make me do that.
He said it's got to be.
It's got to be Despicable Me.
It's gotta be me.
That was more amusing than I
Hate you
expected.
guys. Did you do this show just to put me in an awkward spot?
A little bit.
Next episode, watch Kent suffer.
Don't make that a thing.
Oh, that is next week, actually. Actually, that's Joel suffering next week.
Oh no.
Next matchup, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, June 2012 versus Lincoln, November 2012.
Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States, discovers vampires are planning to take over the United States. He makes it his mission to eliminate them.
Fun fact, Spielberg almost directed Vampire Hunter instead.
I wish.
I made that up.
Lincoln tells the tale of Abraham Lincoln doing Lincoln things. Daniel
Telling
Day-Lewis
stories.
stars as Lincoln both on set and off set.
That's about right.
As the Civil War continues to rage, America's president struggles with continuing carnage on the battlefield as he fights with many inside his own cabinet on the decision to emancipate the slaves.
And tells endless stories.
Oh, God.
And if anyone doesn't know about kind of these parody novels, and I mean, maybe, could you call them parody novels by Seth Grahame-Smith?
Yeah, he did the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Abraham Lincoln Vampire
Right.
Hunter.
Yeah, like late 2000s. These books actually hit it pretty big just because they're tongue in cheek. They're a little bit funny, but they take themselves kind of seriously. Mm-hmm. And so they made this movie, and Lincoln, which was in development for maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
Like Liam Neeson was meant to play Lincoln.
Right.
And then Spielberg was like, I need to find someone. And then he's like, Daniel Day-Lewis, will
Congress,
you do
I have a particular set of skills.
it? Right. I would have killed to see that movie. But Spielberg actually, Daniel Day-Lewis said, no, it's too iconic. And Leonardo DiCaprio actually convinced Daniel Day-Lewis to be in this movie.
Yeah, I saw a thing about that, actually. It took him years, right? Years to convince him.
Well, and the funny thing, too, is about Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is there's actually a knockoff of that movie about Abraham Lincoln hunting zombies. And
Yeah.
honestly, I hadn't seen it. My friend Bob Bador, who runs Quick Wits, he told me all about it, and it sounded like the better movie. Like, because, spoiler alert for Abraham Lincoln Zombie Hunter, he gets bit near the end. And so James Wilkes Booth, John Wilkes Booth, sorry, I got it mixed up there. John Wilkes Booth actually is doing him a favor because he's taking him out.
Don't make it like it's a good movie.
It's not, but that's a cool twist.
Redbox Asylum movie.
Yeah, exactly. It was a cheap knockoff, but I remember being like, oh, that's a kind of a cool twist.
Should we just vote between those two?
Well, I was actually super excited for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter because I was like, this is going to be fun. And I don't like Lincoln that much. Not the person, the movie. Because I remember the whole time, like at the very first scene when it's like the two slaves walk up to him and they're like, one day, maybe slaves will be free. And let me quote this speech that I probably heard once and had no time to memorize. Let me quote it to you. And then maybe one day we'll even have a black president. And then maybe one day, like it was like the very first scene. I was like, wow, you guys are fortune telling here.
Yeah,
like it kind of felt.
It was
like
basically an in hindsight movie.
It was, and I wasn't a big fan of it, but I was disappointed by Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It wasn't as fun as I wanted it to be. I'm gonna have to go for Lincoln.
How do you say it's not fun when he is jumping on the back of a stampede of horses chasing down a vampire wielding an axe?
Yeah, but Daniel Day-Lewis did that wonderfully. Wait, that wasn't in Lincoln?
Daniel Day-Lewis would have like cried blasphemy if anyone even brought up the word vampire. I actually, now when I see a quote by Abraham Lincoln, I always see Vampire Hunter right after it. If it's like a quote that's actually not attributed to him, and I'm all,
did you know he was actually
Lincoln
bitten at the end of his life, and that's why he was killed?
Go.
Yeah, I heard that one time.
Have you guys ever heard that, by the way, that if you take any first line from a story and then add the second sentence and then the murders began, that it becomes a much better story?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you got to try it with some books at home. It's quite entertaining.
Right.
It was the best of times, what was the worst of times? And then the murders begin.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Call me Ishmael, and then the murders begin.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was actually shipped to the cinemas with the code name Bloody Honest. I wish the movie was called Bloody Honest. For me, it's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I would watch this movie any day over Lincoln. I'll never watch Lincoln again. I thought it was boring and droll.
Kent's voting for a movie that was produced by Tim Burton in 2012.
Sure. I will own that. I've already owned
Tim Burton's
Paul
not out of his
Blart and Despicable Me.
And Pixar.
That's what you're doing. You're just voting for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in it.
You know it.
Dang it. I should have guessed that.
All right, to break this tie, fellas, I'll very easily choose Lincoln.
There we go.
Easily, because I actually kind of liked it.
Oh.
And here's why. Is because
was that part when he told the story and stared off into the distance?
Look, the stories were actually kind of endearing to me, even though there was way too many, right? But here's why. This for the singular reason is I saw an interview with Spielberg where he said, "I've done war. I've already won at that. I know how to do that. I know how to win. I want to make something totally different, something that's not Hollywoody, basically, and try to make it good." And like, if you watch the movie, he's
doing one of those Lincoln monologues right now.
Seriously.
and one day I talked to Steven Spielberg.
Steve, as I call him. As Stevie.
Steve and Kevin. All hanging out.
Anyway, I think he did make a pretty good movie considering he didn't fall into tons of tropes that would have made the movie easily more entertaining. Like, there was tons of war he could have covered, and he chose not to, trying to do the harder thing. It was an uphill battle that he chose, and I still think he pulled it off.
So because
we need to make our movie more boring.
For me, he chose the wrong time period of Lincoln and totally botched everything.
You'd like to see him chop down the cherry tree?
Yeah. Yes. And a vampire or two.
Washington.
Look, I would have preferred.
Why do you hate
and he
America?
never did that.
Why do you hate America?
He never did that.
He does hate America, but
I'll just throw that out there.
And pie and
dogs
and fireworks,
and dogs and fireworks.
Oh yeah, fireworks. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
I'm just gonna keep going. Jobs 2013 versus Steve Jobs 2015. That is confusing to read for some reason.
So Jobs is actually the Ashton Kutcher movie.
Yes.
Which gives kind of like this whole life story. It's the story of Steve Jobs' ascension from college dropout into one of the most revered creative entrepreneurs of the 20th century.
And then Steve Jobs 2015 is the one it's created by Danny Boyle with Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs takes us behind the scenes of the digital revolution to paint a portrait of the man at its epicenter. The story unfolds backstage at 3 iconic product launches, ending in 1998 with the unveiling of the iMac and the beginning of Apple worship for all the cult that follows him.
It does not say that in the description.
Says
Come
the cult
on.
worshiper.
So almost all of the scenes in Jobs, the Ashton Kutcher one, I'm just going to keep calling it the Ashton Kutcher one. Are you guys okay with that?
That'll make it less confusing.
It's actually... They actually do a really good job. So they actually go to Steve Jobs' parents' house and they film scenes in the garage and the house that Steve Jobs actually created or helped to create Apple in.
In the AK one. That's what we're going to call it, right? AK?
Yeah, AK.
Okay. And I don't understand. Okay, so Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, 2012?
Sure.
Something like that. And so that's probably why these happened around the same time. But it's the fact that there's 2 years between them. And I think that Danny Boyle honestly said, I could do that one better. And Danny Boyle apparently had the blessing of Steve Wozniak because...
But did he do it better?
Well, when they asked Steve Wozniak about what he thought about Ashton Kutcher's movie, he said that it was he watched it as far as he read the screenplay and he said he read as far as he could stomach it and then felt it was crap and thought it was not at all real. But then Ashton Kutcher said, yeah, he was being paid by another company to support their Jobs film, so of course he's going to bash on mine.
Right. I actually think Ashton Kutcher does a good job as Steve Jobs. I think he's the best part, and he doesn't get enough credit for the role. But the movie kind of glosses over a whole ton. Whereas Danny Boyle's version, written by
Aaron Sorkin.
You don't think that glosses over things?
No, because it purposely picks out 3 distinct moments in Steve Jobs' life.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher's kind of goes his whole life.
It's a bottle. It's 3 bottle episodes.
This is kind of showing different sections.
And also, here's actually my disappointment about Steve Jobs is it was meant to star Christian Bale as Steve Jobs. He was linked to the project for a while, and then he backed out.
It's not what you do on the outside of your app. It's what you do inside that defines you.
That's actually pretty good. That would be a good commercial. And actually, Michael Fassbender, he was asked about this, and he says, he's like, no, I'm actually upset at Christian Bale for not doing this movie. I called him and, actually kind of got mad at him. And, and he says, I called him up and told him that.
Wow.
That's where the quote
is. Thanks, Kid, for that. Thanks for that.
Right.
That was quite a speech he gave.
Yeah. You guys, so Michael Fassbender called Christian Bale and told him something.
He says he would have been perfect to play Steve Jobs, and he would have been. But Michael Fassbender does a very good job, even though he doesn't really look the part.
Yeah. But we're going to give it to Steve Jobs, right? The
Easily.
Danny Boyle movie.
I'm not the biggest Aaron Sorkin fan, but this movie is tight and tense.
All right, next match. Only, 2 more?
Yep.
The Illusionist.
Yes,
August
The Illusionist. Moving on.
2006 versus The Prestige. October 2006.
Prestige.
The Illusionist. In turn of century.
You trying to remember what that one is?
Yeah, what is Prestige?
Prestige. I don't know.
Kent really wants me to do that. That summary, huh? Okay.
Oh, no, you go with Illusionist.
No.
Do Illusionist.
Too bad. You already started. Go with Illusionist.
A movie tries to be an avant-garde magical movie, and it stars Jessica Biel.
Just do it.
In turn of the century Vienna, a magician uses his abilities to secure the love of a woman far above his social standing.
2 stage musicians engage in competitive one-upmanship in an attempt to create the ultimate stage illusion. Magic.
I'm playing my hand here, but The Prestige is maybe the best movie that we've mentioned on this show so far.
It's okay.
Yeah, Joel doesn't really care for it. For me, it is the perfect 3-act structure. And the way that Michael Caine...
3-act structure?
Yeah.
3 eggs. Omelets.
3 eggs.
Is that what I said?
I don't know.
So the way Michael Caine describes...
Michael Caine.
Each magic trick, that is the way each act is in this movie.
Narration is essential in all movies.
Once you actually see the Prestige that happens at the end of...
an Australian there.
The Prestige. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're actually mad. Because you're going, man, I really hate the character I liked the entire time. But that's the thing. You should never know a magician's trick. And this movie shows you at the end and you're mad about it. But the fact is, this movie is almost perfect.
Almost.
What makes it unperfect?
I'll tell you what it doesn't have, though. It doesn't have Edward Norton. It doesn't have Paul Giamatti. It doesn't have Jessica Biel. And it doesn't have a soundtrack composed by Philip Glass. Philip Glass, Kent. You've expressed your love for Philip Glass before. Do not deny it.
Admit it, Kent.
I like Koskiaski or whatever. That's pretty much it.
Roger Ebert gave the Prestige 3 out of 4 stars, describing the revelation at the end a, quote, fundamental flaw and a, quote, cheat.
How much money did each movie make?
Prestige made $109 million. Illusionist made $87 million. And Prestige eked out this Rotten Tomatoes win with 76% over 74% for The Illusionist.
So it's Edward Norton in a bad goatee. And Grant, okay, I actually shouldn't hit on it because I kind of like The Illusionist, but kind of like compared to Love, it's far different. And
So
Jessica
Batman,
Biel,
Wolverine, and the Goblin King hanging out in a movie makes it good for you.
absolutely. David Bowie as Nicholas Tesla, absolutely.
I love it when musicians cameo in movies. Love it.
A musician who's acted in several movies and is fantastic and perfect for the eccentric Nicholas Tesla. No, seriously, this is near perfection.
So you're voting for The Prestige?
Obviously.
Okay, me too.
Really? This whole show, Joel.
Oh my gosh,
The Prestige. This whole dang show.
The Prestige is a fantastic film.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh,
I could hug you right now and punch you in the face.
Joel, I'm so grateful you didn't make me pick The Illusionist over Prestige. So
That would have been bad. That would have been Lex Luthor and the Joker.
The
all over
Illusionist
again.
is actually a nice story. I've seen it twice, but just it does rely too much on classic filmmaking, like 1920 is sort of like where it fades in and fades out, and it's there's not much there other than film technique. Mm-hmm. It's a nice story about love, but that's pretty much it.
The Prestige is really smart, and there's no getting around that,
Brilliant.
right? But it's so dark. It made me I felt sad at
No,
the
but
end.
that- so did I.
Yeah.
I felt sad for days.
But that's
actually,
kind
afterwards.
of the point. Like that's the point is whenever you realize what a magic trick is, whenever you realize what the trick is, it's disappointing, and that's exactly what the film does: is pull the rug out from under you and be like, "Told you, you didn't want to know how it was done."
Remember that guy you like? He's the worst.
He is the worst. Killed a bird in a cage.
That's it.
Hugh Jackman does a great job in that, though.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad that these movies are so compared because they really are different movies. They just both happen to be about magicians.
Yeah, magic movies.
Yeah.
And then Magic Mike came around and became the best magic movie.
That's getting quoted.
No!
And finally,
Are you ready for the final round?
this is the end. What are we going to do?
This is the end.
Yes, I said that.
2013 versus The World's End, August 2013.
But it was what was the
June 2013.
So June and August. So these are both summer movies.
This is the end. While attending a party at James Franco's house. By the way, I'm not reading these characters'
Is
names.
this Spring Break you're talking about? Right?
Yes.
Is this the one for Spring Break?
Basically. No, what I should say is Sony gave James Franco and his buddies $100 million to make an apocalypse movie, and they starred as themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Is
it.
that your summary?
And it's
That's-
a biblical
right.
apocalypse.
And
that's
because
embarrassing.
they're going to be really respectful to a biblical apocalypse.
The World's End. 5 friends who reunite in an attempt to top their epic pub crawl from 20 years earlier unwittingly become humanity's only hope for survival. And The World's End is the third and last part of the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy, which includes Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End.
You know, Joel, that's all good.
World's End.
That's all good and fun. But was your movie? Was it the last film rented at a Blockbuster? The last film ever rented a Blockbuster video in Hawaii, and it's called "This Is the End." That's kind of fitting, actually.
That's pretty funny.
That is kind of funny.
And
It's
I hope
how
someone
M-
never returned it.
That sounds apocryphal, actually.
yeah.
Well, I was going to say the first video on MTV was "Video Killed the Radio Star."
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
A little bookend thing there. At The World's End, a lot of fun. Not my favorite of the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy. That would be Shaun of the Dead. But I really
Hot Fuzz for
enjoyed
me.
it. Yeah, which I thought was so weird. But actually, Edgar Wright started writing I keep saying At World's End. I'm sorry. The World's
That's
End.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I know. At the age of 21. And he started kind of writing this. And it's been one that's been building for a while.
I really like the main characters' last names all have royal/court connections. So Gary King, Andy Knightley, Peter Page, Stephen Prince, and Oliver Chamberlain. Because the whole movie kind of follows this whole path of like the bars are very royal in a way, but it's also an alien attack movie where they like have to dismember aliens the entire movie, and it's hilarious.
That is hilarious. Like the way they did the aliens, I thought was wonderful.
The bathroom scene was pretty cool.
It's
incredible.
really funny.
Yeah.
That sounds weird.
That does sound weird. I was thinking that too.
Whereas I will say this, James Franco and Seth Rogen and all their buddies, and Michael Cera's in this movie, and it's kind of funny
Emma
for the 5 minutes
Watson's
he's
in
there.
that movie.
Yeah, and Channing Tatum's here. There is an audience for this, and I cannot take that away from these guys.
It does sound funny. This is the end.
No.
How it's like they're playing them like exaggerated versions of themselves and what they would do in an apocalypse. That is a funny premise.
Not only does it sound funny, but if you're really into rated R comedy, like this is your jam. Like there are scenes where they are ad-libbing and it is disgusting dialogue, but it's so much of it that you're like, really, these guys will just keep going. And the camera keeps filming. Danny McBride is there being as gross as ever. And
so normal Danny McBride.
right. So for the audience, this is like almost the perfect movie. I've heard people rave about this, and the ending is actually pretty great because, spoiler alert, does anyone care?
They all die.
I read it.
They all die, they go to heaven, and the Backstreet Boys are performing up in heaven, and it is actually hilarious.
Here's the other funny thing about this. This is the end. 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. And The World's End got 89%, but still 83% for
That's
a raunchy rated R
way
Seth
higher,
Rogen comedy.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Rotten
And
Tomatoes.
during production, the movie was actually This Is the End was called The Apocalypse, and then they changed it to The End of the World But then they just changed it to This Is the End because Seth Rogen contacted Simon Pegg contacted Seth Rogen and said, hey, our movie's called The World's End. Can you take off that part of your name? Because it was the end of the world. So they just changed to This Is the End. So there was a collaboration there. They knew each other were working on the same type. And these are grouped together because they're apocalyptical movies.
There's a clear winner here. There's the trashy one, and there's the one that completes one of the greatest trilogies. And
So-
trilogies, I say that in quotes.
And that's why I'm voting for Paul Blart Mall Cop.
And that's why I'm voting for Despicable Me.
I thought you were
He
just
said
gonna
it!
vote-
He said it!
Oh,
Dang
that's
it. What have I done?
Yes.
So Ken's going for the trashy one, and
If Ken I didn't vote for At World's End, dang it, The World's End every time.
We would have to take our film buff card away.
Because we're both Edgar Wright fans. It's the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy. It's going to win this one.
Absolutely.
I'm full of shock right now.
14-year-old Jacob, what are you doing here at your birthday party?
I love Tombstone. Let's watch Tombstone again.
I'm going to eat Tombstone while watching Tombstone and engraving my own Tombstone.
Wow, this got kind of morbid.
Actually, you do have a ranch. Are there tombstones out there?
no, there's not a Tombstone.
Are you sure?
They're probably bodies, but not tombstones. Jacob
See?
doesn't
He
mark
gets
the
it.
graves.
He gets it.
He gets it. Your murderous tendencies. And that's when the murders began.
So we hope you enjoyed this this random discussion of twin movies. If you want to find me, you can find me at 76Joel on Twitter, or you can find me at Quick Wits. They perform every Saturday night at the Midville Performing Arts Center. For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or just go to the Quick Wits Facebook page.
If you want to find me on Twitter and Instagram, it's at Kenny3DD. If you want to read my reviews, it's ShowtimeShowdown.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob A. Rogers and find Baconsale on Twitter at Baconsale. And go follow us there because I know a lot of you listen that aren't following us there.
Yeah.
And we communicate a ton with you guys, and it's a lot of fun, and we throw out quotes from the show. And seriously, Twitter is a pretty great place to follow Baconsale.
Yeah, and let us know if you agree with the choice we made or if you disagree, because we love to argue. Well, Kent does. So until next time, this has been Baconsale.
So I've got some issues.
Let's talk about the issues that Kent has.
What are future females exactly?
Future females from the future.
Like Cylons, like number 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
like number 6.
Yeah, see? Growly pants.
Democracy should go.
Democracy from Sean Connery.
It'd be a lot easier to talk about this later.
Hello, democracy. Is that a word?
No. Yeah, why don't you Google Little Muscle while you're down there?
That's not kid friendly at all.
If we put the show together, Joel, he'd be in trouble right now.
Yes. But you don't.
I've never seen myself naked on camera before, so this is a little weird. You're not recording that. Ah, crap!
God, just say stuff. God, you ruin everything.
This is Hopper territory.
Hopper takes the win.
Which people will survive?
Choose between these ugly babies.
Scientifically accurate.
I trust Michael Bay.
And I'm so comfortable that I'm slowing down.
For my
Hold on.
birthday, I want to
Did-
watch Tombstone twice. He makes some bad decisions.
Yeah, he does.
No one came to my Tombstone party.
On my list of volcano movies, this is number 1. The choice is easy. It's Chuckarama, the second most desirable place to live in America.
He wants to ask it if he can kiss it. I use the metric system.
I do.
How terribly embarrassing for humans. I'm the one who defines meaning here. I'm the one who agrees with you. You better watch out.
It's all about King Julian.
Kevin's on a Segway and he's fat.
I don't know why that's a fun fact. In a world where I vote for Paul Blart Mall Cop,
In a world.
it's the last day I want to live.
Plot twist. My mouth is not working. Why don't you
working,
guys just sit on the
kids.
same chair and hug each other the whole show?
All right. He never accepts. What? You will?
I learn more about Minions, and that's what I love.
Choose, but choose wisely.
Whichever one wins, you still lose. Watch Kent suffer. The bathroom scene was pretty cool.
It's
incredible.
really funny.
Yeah.
That sounds weird.
That does sound weird. I am full of shock right now. I love Tombstone.
Is that Jacob's growl?